The building was already on fire when the call came through. Mercedes-Benz had spent over $1 billion developing a new flagship sedan, a figure so staggering it threatened the company's financial stability. This was the W140 S-Class, a car born from an era of limitless engineering ambition. It represented the absolute peak of what a luxury automobile could be, a monument to a philosophy that valued perfection over practicality. The central question was whether this vehicle marked the final triumph of German engineering, or the moment the entire approach became unsustainable. This car would become both an icon and a cautionary tale. To understand the word, you have to go back to the culture of Mercedes-Benz before the 1990s. The company operated on a simple principle: engineering excellence came first, and cost was a secondary concern. The goal was to build the best car possible, with an almost obsessive focus on durability, safety, and refinement. This philosophy had defined the brand for decades, creating vehicles renowned for their heft and permanence. They were objects designed not for a product cycle, but for generations. The 40 project began in this environment of pure ambition. The brief was not to create a profitable car, but to create the ultimate luxury sedan, a vehicle that would surpass everything on the road. Every system, from the suspension to the door handles, was reimagined without a budget. Competitors like BMG and Lexus approached luxury differently. They balanced innovation with cost control, aiming for elegance and reliability within a sensible financial framework. Mercedes, by contrast, pursued absolute technical supremacy. This single-minded focus led to one of the most telling decisions in the car's development. The launch was deliberately delayed so that engineers could develop and integrate a new V12 engine. This was a direct response to BMW having introduced a 12-cylinder engine in their flagship sedan. For Mercedes, not having a V12 option was unthinkable, even if it meant millions in additional development costs and a delayed market entry. The decision perfectly captures the mindset: the car had to be complete, regardless of the price. The early 1990s were a time of shifting expectations. The world was entering a recession, and the definition of luxury was beginning to change. Value and efficiency were becoming as important as prestige and opulence. Yet the W140 was conceived in the final days of the old world, where a luxury car was expected to be a fortress of silence and solidity. It was a product out of time, an echo of a more uncompromising era. The cultural ground was shifting, but the W140 was built like a bedrock. The astronomical cost of the W40 was not from one single feature, but from the cumulative effect of dozens of engineering decisions made without regard for expense. Each component was an example of a commitment to an ideal. Take the windows, for instance. The W140 featured double-pane glazing, like you would find in a high-end building. This was not just thicker glass, it was two separate layers with a thin layer of air between them. The effect was a cabin so quiet that it felt detached from the outside world, a rolling sensory deprivation chamber. Then there were the doors. The sheer weight of them was the first clue, but the engineering went deeper. The car featured power-assisted closing mechanisms. If you did not fully latch the heavy door, a small electric motor would silently pull it shut with a solid, satisfying thunk. The sunroof operated on a complex hydraulic system, a level of engineering typically reserved for aircraft. These were solutions to problems most people never knew existed, all in the pursuit of effortless, flawless operation. Safety was another area where no cost was spared. The WRD introduced features that were years, and in some cases decades, ahead of regulations. It had side impact protection that exceeded future legal requirements. The braking system was massively over-engineered for assured stopping power. The car's structure was designed to withstand impacts that would obliterate lesser vehicles. This was not just about passing a test. It was about creating an invulnerable passenger cell, a safety net so robust you would hopefully never need it. Throughout the car, expensive materials were used without hesitation. The interior wood was meticulously selected and finished. The leather was of the highest quality. Even the sound-deadening material was extensive and heavy, adding to the overall feeling of substance. Every feature represented a choice for perfection over practicality. A simpler sunroof mechanism would have worked. Single-pane glass would have sufficed. But for the engineers behind the 40, good enough was not in their vocabulary. The result was a car that felt like it was carved from a single block of material, a testament to a time when budget was not the primary. Getting behind the wheel of a W140 was a sensory experience unlike any other modern car. The first thing you noticed was the door. It had a specific heavy inertia. You didn't just open it, you guided its substantial mass. When it closed, the sound was not a sharp metallic clap, but a deep muffled thud, like a vault ceiling. That sound told you everything about the car's construction. Inside, the world changed. The legendary double-pane glass created a silence so profound that it felt almost unnatural. You could be traveling at high speed on the Autobahn, and the only noise was a distant, muted whisper. The driving experience reflected this massive construction. The steering was precise but heavy, communicating the car's weight. It did not feel nimble or sporty, it felt unshakable. The suspension absorbed bumps and imperfections with a dismissive grace, ironing out the road beneath you. This was not a car that reacted to the road, it was a car that subdued the road. The feeling was one of immense, unflappable calm. You were piloting a vehicle that felt entirely separate from its surroundings, a mobile command center insulated from the chaos outside. Owners often described a unique sense of permanence. You did not just drive the W140, you inhabited it. The sheer solidity of every switch, the smooth action of every lever, reinforced the idea that this was an object built to last. The air conditioning controls were a bank of heavy, satisfying knobs and buttons that clicked into place with absolute authority. There was no plastic flimsiness, no sense of temporary design. It felt like every component was engineered for a century of use, not just a decade. But this durability came with complexity. The very systems that created the unparalleled experience also defined the ownership reality. Those silent, power-closing doors relied on intricate motors and sensors. The sophisticated hydraulic suspension that provided the magic carpet ride was a network of valves and lines that could, and did, eventually fail. Maintaining a 40 was not like maintaining an ordinary car. It required specialists who understood its unique, over-engineered systems. The car was built like a bank vault, but fixing it sometimes required the equivalent of a master safecracker. This created a contrast between the intended effortless luxury and the sometimes cumbersome reality of keeping such a complex machine in perfect condition. While Mercedes engineers were perfecting their masterpiece, the world was changing. The early 1990s saw a global recession that fundamentally altered the luxury car market. Suddenly, ostentatious displays of wealth were viewed with skepticism. Buyers became more conscious of value, reliability, and long-term cost of ownership. The 40, with its billion-dollar development price tag, was now up to 25% more expensive than its predecessor. It arrived at a moment when the market was least receptive to its particular brand of uncompromising and expensive excellence. The disruption came from an unexpected direction. Toyota's new luxury division, Lexus, had launched the LS400 just a few years earlier. It was a car that offered a similar proposition of silence, comfort, and refinement, but it did so at roughly two-thirds the price of the S-Class. More importantly, the Lexus was renowned for its bulletproof reliability. It delivered a peaceful, high-quality experience without the intimidating complexity and potential maintenance costs of the German flagship. For many new luxury buyers, the choice became clear. Why pay a premium for over-engineering when you could get 90% of the experience with far greater peace of mind? Inside Mercedes-Benz, the criticism began to mount. The financial reality of the W140 project was becoming impossible to ignore. The car's exorbitant cost structure made it difficult to turn a significant profit. Especially as sales slowed, management started to question the philosophy that had guided the company for so long. Had they gone too far? Was this level of over-engineering what customers actually wanted, or was it an expensive exercise in corporate pride? The W140 was a technological tour de force, but it was also a commercial albatross. Sales figures told the story. Despite being hailed as an engineering masterpiece, the W140 moved slowly off dealer lots. The combination of its high sticker price, the economic downturn, and the new competition from Lexus created a perfect storm. The car that was meant to cement Mercedes' dominance instead highlighted its vulnerability. The moment of realization for Mercedes' leadership was stark. They had created the ultimate expression of their engineering philosophy, only to discover that the market would not support it. The model, in its current form, was commercially unsustainable. The very qualities that made the 40 extraordinary were the same ones that made it a product the company could not afford to keep building. The response from Mercedes-Benz was swift and decisive. The philosophy that had defined the company for generations was officially over. The next generation S-Class, the W220, was developed under a new mandate: efficiency. The era of building without a budget had come to a close. The W220 was a clear departure from its predecessor, the W140. Engineers were instructed to reduce weight and cost dramatically. The goal was no longer to build the ultimate car, but to build a car that could compete on price with rivals like Lexus. This shift was visible everywhere. The W220 was significantly lighter than the W140. The feeling of monumental solidity was replaced by a more modern, agile demeanor. Features that had defined the W140 experience were simplified or removed entirely. The complex hydraulic systems for doors and suspension were gone, replaced by more conventional, cost-effective electric motors and air springs. The double-pane windows, that symbol of acoustic isolation, were abandoned. The interior, while still luxurious, used materials that felt more contemporary but less substantial. This was not an isolated change. The entire luxury car industry began moving in the same direction. The focus shifted from absolute quality and permanence to efficiency, technology integration, and perceived value. The idea of the car as an heirloom, built to last for 30 years, was fading. The new philosophy prioritized a compelling ownership experience over a multi-decade lifespan. The 40 stood as the clear dividing line between these two eras. It was the last class designed for the ages, and the first one that broke the company's traditional mold. The irony of the 40's story is that its initial commercial failure paved the way for its second life as a cult classic. As modern luxury cars became lighter and more complex in their technology, enthusiasts began to appreciate the raw, mechanical integrity of the W140. Its flaws, once seen as expensive liabilities, are now viewed as virtues of character, the very complexity that made it costly. What it takes to maintain it is what makes it fascinating to those who love engineering. Today, a well-preserved 40 has found a dedicated audience. It is not a car for everyone, but for those who understand its place in history, it is irreplaceable. The collector market recognizes low-mileage, pristine examples, especially the powerful V12 models, as significant pieces of automotive history. Their values have stabilized and are now appreciating, a final vindication for a car that was once considered a commercial misstep. People seek them out precisely because they represent a level of commitment that has vanished. The car tells us something important about the value of permanence in a disposable age. In a world of planned obsolescence and lightweight construction, the 40's sheer mass and overbuilt nature feel refreshingly honest. It is a physical reminder of a different set of priorities, where the goal was to build something that would endure. It is that sense of permanence we miss. The W140's second life is a testament to the enduring appeal of objects that are built with soul and intentionality, long after their initial cost was deemed too high. The W40's legacy is a complex one. It was both an engineering masterpiece and a cautionary tale about the limits of ambition. It represented the peak of a certain kind of automotive thinking, a philosophy that simply could not survive in the modern marketplace. What we lost when budgets trumped that level of ambition was a sense of absolute, uncompromised quality. We traded permanence for practicality. The W140 remains a monument to that lost world, a car they truly couldn't afford to build, but one we are lucky to still have as a reminder. If you remember this era of solid, heavy luxury, let me know your favorite detail about the W140 in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about the craftsmanship of